Welcome to the module of increasing level of detail. If you haven't seen the module adding BIM data already, I highly recommend you to watch that video first, because it's actually a more advanced part of that module, and I will be going further into the same model that I used in the module adding BIM data. And here I'm going to add in more and more detail and increasing the level of detail to a more realistic version of an office building. So let's get started. First, this is the end result of the previous module, which is the adding BIM data one, where I added the compositions and some properties into this model. Now let's open up a floor section. And zoom into the front and zoom into the connection of the wall from the front and the back wall composition. So you can see here it's not perfectly aligned and connected to each other since the compositions has a different thickness. If we zoom into another wall connection, which has both front composition, you can see these connections look pretty good. It's only this one that we want to change. Now, in the previous module of the adding BIM data, I showed you how to use propagate to copy the same kind of details into the other parts of your drawing. Now here I'm going to use the details panel. So if I open up this icon, you will see the details panel. If you don't find this icon on your right hand side, you can right click any empty space and open up the panel details. So this one, yes. So now I have 3 files in it. If you don't have it, you can find the files in your own computer, which is in program data, Brics details. So here you have the details that I prepared before. So you can find these details in a zip file that I added in the starter file. So if you unzip that and copy and paste it into here, this path, so program data Brics details, and then you should find this exact detail in the details panel. So I have 3 folders. I can use the search bar to find wall, for example, and click on the plus. And since it's a wall composition, let's do it twice. And you can see here some combinations where I have used the wall connection before. So in this case, I want to use the W55 one. If I click so let's choose this one. If I click on them, you can see here it has some information to it, if it's parameterized or not. You can also open it in a separate DWG file. You can add some text on it as well. You have some parameters shown, and here you can see the solid text and the general text of the detail. So some information about the detail. I will explain you later as well. For now, I'm going to use this detail and also like components and compositions, just drag and drop it inside your drawing. So let's do that. And here it will automatically launch propagate to find similar connections to apply this particular detail onto the locations in your drawing. In this case, I just wanted to have this. I just want to have this connection for the wall connection, which is the wall front and the wall back. So we can check off the rest, which are the front and front wall, like this. So only the blind wall should have this kind of connection, like this. Enter. Apply all. And you will see it will be applied to 6 connections like this. And if I zoom in, you can see the connection looks more realistic than the one we had before. So this is the wall back and the wall front, which has a different composition to it. We can use the same thing. We can do the same thing for the other model, which is the main building. If I open up here a floor section, doesn't matter which one, and I zoom in, you can see the connection is also not realistic and not correct. So if I also just drag and drop the same detail into the drawing, it will propagate automatically and give us some suggestions. So here, this is our blind wall, so with the different compositions. So the rest we can unselect like this, enter. All right, and then let's zoom back in to see if it's correct. And here you go. So this connection is completed. So this is kind of the details that I used in Propagate. You can actually save these kind of details to use in other external files as well. Now, let's go back to the second building to create another details. So for the next part of this module, I'm going to show you how to edit another construction detail, which is the rooftop part, the rooftop edge, where I'm going to add a wall cap into this construction detail. I've done this before in the other module. So let's zoom into the rooftop slab and the exterior wall. And first thing, since we already have the level of detail on, we're just going to enable the face selection to be able to select the ply of the rooftop slab. Hit tab until we have the green highlighted surface, and then push and pull to the next ply of the wall like this. Now we are going to hover on top of the wall and also hit the tab key until we have the orange one. That one, let's extrude that one up with the dimension of 50 to have a wall cap, as well as here underneath, click on tab once to have the solid face to delete the whole part of this one like this, and then again to use the same surface, and instead of deleting, we're going to add in a new solid like this. Afterwards, I'm going to make this solid a little bit bigger on the side, push pull it for the next solid, next surface, and my new detail should look something like this. Let me disable the face selection. So for this detail, I have added another solid, which is the wall cap, and also another solid, which is the insulation. So I have added 2 extra surfaces for this particular detail. Let me also add in a composition to them. So let me open the composition panel and type in concrete. And then you have all the concrete options that we currently have. Let me select the first solid, which is the wall cap, and add concrete plane to it. And also select the insulation to have the supporting wall cellular concrete composition to it, like this. So this should be my finished detail. In this case, if we wanted to have this detail all over the rest of the building, we can do propagate to it. But now, since we want to use this same detail in another model, which is the main building, we want to save this detail into the details panel to be able to use it onto other external files. So let me BIM create detail, and the create detail dialog will pop up. You can do a detail name, let's say wall cap detail, and then you can choose a category or make one. Let's say you can save it in roof wall connections, for example, or you can type in a new name to create a new folder. Select the base solids. So these are the original rooftop slab and the original wall surface, wall solids. Enter. Detail entity. So these are the new solids that you have created. So in this case, this is the wall cap and the installation. And section. So the section that you've opened to create this detail. So this one. Okay. Create. So it will ask you to confirm. Okay. Accept this detail. You can always edit the image of the thumbnail like this, for example, and add in a tag as well, for example, wall cap, add. So here it will add it to the general tags. So the orange one is not an automatically generated tag, but it's a personal tag that you use for a certain project, for example. Save it. Okay, so our detail is saved. So let's open the details panel and search on the folder, search in the folder where you save this detail. So this would be wall cap details, so this one. You can go ahead and open this detail, and now you see our detail is not parameterized, so there are no parameters on it, which means that the plies has to have a fixed thickness. It cannot be changed. The dimensions should be exactly the same, otherwise Propagate won't find this particular detail. But we can parameterize it and use it to propagate on different situations. Even though the thickness is a little bit different, it will still propagate that certain detail. So let me parameterize it. So now it will be automatically parameterized, and the particular detail will be opened up in a different DWG file. So you can see here. Let me open up the mechanical browser. So this looks like that. And you can see here all the plies that we have in this particular detail, and these are all in parameters, which means all these thicknesses of each ply can be changed. We can check this by animating. So you can see this concrete layer is changing. So now, even though in other situations where the concrete is a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner, it will still be able to find this detail to propagate, since these plies are parameterized. We can also do that for the angle, for example. Animate. You can see the angle is not perfectly done yet, so you can still change these parameters and add your own constraints to it as well. So let me enable the face selection again. So animate this again. So you see this is this surface doesn't perfectly come along with the other one, so we can add in a coincidence constraints to it. Select both surfaces, constraint and coincidence. So here it will add a coincidence constraints to this ply, this face and this face. Another thing we want to be fixed is the distance between this solid surface and the one underneath for the wall cap, so it will be all the time the same distance, which is 50. So enter. So we've added the distance constraints of 50 in this wall cap, and the same for the installation block. So let me tap until I find the right solid face, which is this one, and then the one underneath, and add also distance constraint, which is 355, enter. So then these distances will be fixed. So if I animate this angle again, it looks a little bit better than before. Let me also change this thickness tolerance to 100, so it has a bigger tolerance. Save it, and then we can close off this detail. Now go back to the main building model, which is this one. Open up the details panel, and then go ahead and drag and drop the detail that we have just edited into the drawing. Enter to apply all the suggestions, and it's done. So if you zoom into the rooftop edge, you will see here the rooftop has a wall cap on it, and it has an extra solid which is for the insulation. You can also check it by opening, making a BIM section, and zoom in to check. So you see, even though this roof is slightly angular, it has an angle to it, it will still apply this particular detail, since we have animated and parameterized the angle for this detail as well. So it will be able to apply this detail not only for construction details that has a 90-degree angle, but another angle is also possible. So this is how you can actually create details and save it in the details panel to use it for later, and also for other kind of situations where you can kind of use the same detail. So this was another example for how to create more realistic details in your model. So the idea of the details panel is to create a detail once, parameterize it, and save it into the details panel, where you can use it later for similar situations, not only in the same drawing, but also in other drawings as well. So this was a module increasing LOD, which is level of detail. Thanks for watching.